Hello everyone and welcome to our webinar today. So today we're going to dive in, we're going to talk about the update for the SBA Paycheck Protection Plan program. So this program actually was just updated this weekend with SBA. So last week we talked about this, and what we talked about was everything that we believed from the actual bill that was going to happen. Now the SBA administration has received this. They've actually reviewed everything that came with the bill. They've updated guidelines, and there's been a lot of changes from what we talked about last week with how this PPP program is going to work. So what I'm going to tell you today, again, still may change. Things are happening and changing a little bit every day, but for the most part, these are the guidelines that were passed down from SBA. So we now have answers to a lot of questions that we just did not know. So by the end of this, you're going to know exactly how the SBA PPP program works. You're going to know how to get it, how much you can get. You're going to know where to go to get approved. Look, there's a lot of problems right now. Okay, most banks, some banks like Wells Fargo have stopped receiving applications. Others are funding so much that they're so backlogged that they can't get to your application. So we're going to talk about solutions with that as well. By the end of this, you're going to know everything you need to know to go in, even today, and get access to a PPP program. I won't spend a lot of time introducing myself. My name's Ty Crandall. I'm CEO at Credit Suite. If we can help you along the way, let us know. We work with great resources that can help you with SBA PPP program as well as all other kind of funding, and we're really big on helping you build business credit for your EIN that's not linked to your social, which could help you navigate through the coronavirus as well. So let's talk a little bit about this. So when we talk about the PPP program, here is what you need to know on who can actually get approved. So you need to be in business before February 15th, 2020, and you need to be paying employees or 1099 contractors. That's something that came in the final requirements with SBA. So you've got to be in business before February 15th, on or before, and you need to have at least paid employees and or 1099 contractors, and that can include yourself. Okay, this is for businesses affected by the coronavirus with less than 500 employees per location. You're going to have to acknowledge that you've been adversely affected. I'm going to actually give you the exact acknowledgments you're going to have to provide on your application here a few minutes down the road. This also includes sole proprietors, independent contractors, and self-employed persons. Now, I put files separately. This is brand new. What we believed was that you would be able to include self-employed and 1099 individuals as your payroll. But now we know that's not the case. As of the 3rd, they opened it up to small businesses, sole proprietors. If you own your own business, you can already apply now and already should have. And if you haven't, we'll talk about how to get in line. The other part of that is if you are a 1099 or self-employed, they're now allowing those individuals to file separately, and they can start filing as soon as the 10th, which is this Friday. So again, big change here. 1099 self-employed contractors will not count as employees on your payroll. They need to actually apply separately. And you also can get approved as a private nonprofit. You can get approved as a veterans organization. You can get approved as a religious organization, such as a church as well. This is a really big improvement to the bill because, again, SBA really doesn't do anything with religious organizations or churches. This is the first loan I've ever seen them offer where they actually do this. So some really good stuff that came from the final program as it was released. Here's the basics that you need to know. You're able to get 2.5 times average your monthly payroll over the last 12 months. I'm still believing this is a little bit of a gray area, and here's why I say that. SBA's application says that you need to look at what you made in 2019, but SBA's underwriting requirements say the last 12 months. So this is a big change because last week I told you that they were going to calculate your payroll over what your payroll numbers were for 2019. Now the bill has said, or the actual requirements from SBA says they're going to look at the last 12 months. And here's why this is important. You're going to need to gather your payroll docs for 2019 and the first quarter of 2020. And I'm going to go through and show you that. I'll even tell you the exact documents you need from the IRS to get this done. Loan payments are deferred for 6 months. There's no collateral required. There's no personal guarantee required. There's no prepayment penalty. It's 100% SBA guaranteed. The loan has a maturity of 2 years and a 1% interest rate if it ever needs to be repaid. So I'm going to tell you how this works, and we'll talk about it when we get to forgiveness. The idea here is that they delay your payments for 6 months, and if you meet the forgiveness requirements, which there's been some big changes here, and I'm going to go over these with you, but if you meet the forgiveness changes, then you can submit for forgiveness after the first 2 months, and they only have 2 months to review your actual submission for forgiveness. So the idea here is that the first 2 months in, you spend the money on the stuff you need to spend it on to get it forgiven. Then you apply back to the lender to have the loan forgiven. They only have 2 months to review it. So within that 6-month time period, the whole loan can be forgiven. So the idea here is that you never need to make a payment, and it changes the equivalent of a loan into basically the equivalent of a grant. So how do you calculate the max loan amount? This is exactly from their guidelines, copied and pasted, so you can see how it works. So you aggregate payroll costs from the last 12 months for employees whose principal place of residence is in the United States. So you got to look at all employees who live in the United States, and as you can see, per SBA's guidelines, they are looking over the last 12 months, not just 2019, so a big difference here. Now then you're going to subtract any compensation paid to an employee in excess of an annual salary of $100,000 and any amounts paid to an independent contractor or sole proprietor in excess of $100,000. So the bottom line is, when you're adding up your payroll calculations, you're going to subtract out anything above $100,000. So let's say you pay yourself $150,000 a year. You would only count $100,000 of your own salary into this, not the extra $50,000 as an example. Step 3, calculate your average monthly payroll cost. So you just basically add up what you did over 12 months and you divide it by 12 because there's 12 months in a year. Then you multiply that average monthly payroll you get times 2.5. That's how you're going to get to basically an idea of how much money you're going to get. And then step 5, add the outstanding amount of any EIDL loan that you got during this time. So now that we've known how much money you have in payroll, then you multiply it times 2.5 times. And then if you did already get this economic injury disaster loan, which you didn't, we'll talk about that today, you roll the balance of that in as well. So what this means is it means that the EIDL loan, the economic injury disaster loan, the very first loan that SBA came out with that $50 billion, that can also be rolled in and completely forgiven. So this directly comes from SBA's guidelines on how this works. Now here's an example. If you have no employees, make more than $100,000. Okay, your average payroll is $120,000. Okay, so your average payroll amount, if we divide that times 12, is $10,000. If we multiply that times 2.5 times, $25,000 the loan amount, and that's the loan amount that you would get. So it kind of gives you an example of how that's going to work with them. So payroll costs include all of these things. There hasn't been a change here. So any salaries, wages, commissions, similar compensation, payment of cash tips, again, capped at the $100,000 we talked about, payment for vacation, parental leave, medical or sick leave, allowance for dismissal or separation, payment for the provisions of group health and health care benefits, including insurance premiums, payment of any retirement benefits, payment of state or local tax assessed on the compensation as well. The sum of such payments, as we talked about, can't exceed $100,000, and FICA taxes are excluded. So if you want to know what payroll costs are that you're adding up, it's all of these things right here. And when we're done, I'll give you access to this slide deck. I'm going to tell you where you can get this slide deck as well. So when to apply, here are the dates, but there's some big things we got to talk about right now, because I don't know if you're watching the news, but it's really hard to apply, and the money is going way faster than we thought it was going to go. So as of April 3rd, last Friday, small businesses and sole proprietors can apply. As of this Friday, April 10th, independent contractors and self-employed individuals can apply. So you can see, again, they're applying separately. Self-employed and independent contractors will not count under your payroll. That comes from the actual SBA guidelines once they're released. And again, you're going to need an application and payroll docs. I'm going to tell you exactly what you need, the exact IRS forms, everything that you need to get this in. Apply by June 30th. That is a complete joke. The reality is, at this point in time, the math adds up that this money won't even be here in 10 days. That's what we're looking at right now, and I'll give you some real numbers to get you an idea of how fast this money is going. Let's talk about it. It's urgent that you act now. Jennifer Kelly, an SBA spokesperson, said that as of 9:30 Monday, let me give you a time check here. One business day after they opened applications, one day later, the program had guaranteed nearly $38 billion to nearly 130,000 applicants at over 2,400 lenders. Let's do the math. $349 billion was set aside. 38 is already gone. So that means more than 10% of the money is gone, that is to give, in one day. 1 business day. So that gives you an idea. If we stay at the pace that we're on, in 10 total business days, all of the money will be gone, which means sometime next week, all of the money will be out. So if you don't have your application in this week, maybe even as soon as tomorrow or Thursday, you're pretty much going to be done. But we'll actually give you some more stats so you can see what's happening. April 4th, Friday, Wells Fargo wasn't accepting applications because they didn't have guidelines. They did accept them, and as of Monday, they're no longer. Wells Fargo's done. Okay, so we are committed to helping our customers during these unprecedented and challenging times, but are restricted in our ability to serve as many customers as we'd like to. CEO of Wells Fargo. Let me explain to what's happening with Wells Fargo. As you guys know, Wells Fargo got in a little bit of trouble. Okay, they had all kinds of fines come down because they were setting up fake bank accounts a while back, and they actually have a cap of $10 billion. So within one day, they had already reached their cap of $10 billion in applications. That's how quickly this went down. The bank said it will focus its lending on nonprofits and small businesses with fewer than 50 employees. It said it already has enough applications to exceed its capacity of $10 billion to lend. And I actually got that from a local news station right about here. Now, Vegas says, what about banks not taking more apps? We'll talk about that. Should only businesses with employees apply? We already answered that question. And another question I've got coming in is, so please tell me anything that is not accurate. Rep Taurus believes that some information here is not accurate. So please tell us what is not accurate. I'd love that because all this is coming directly from SBA's guidelines. Okay. So that being said, and Rep Taurus King says small businesses can't apply until the 10th. That is completely incorrect. The reality is the third applications were already open up as of Friday. If you've already missed that date, then it might be too late for you to even get in. And the 10th, it opens up to independent contractors. You can fact check that anywhere you like. So here's my news feed. I don't know about you. Let's talk about the real problem at hand here. These are the news feeds that I got this morning. Wells Fargo stops taking applications. The fear is palpable. Reaction to Wells Fargo closing window on SBA relief program. Small business owners stuck in loan limbo as new government programs stumble. Small business owners frustrated with troubled PPP launch. Thousands of applications, zero loans. Trump's small business lending programs a failure to launch. And on and on. So guys, look, and you can see the bottom one. Bank of America gets $6 billion in SBA loan requests within hours. So you see what's happening is that it did open up for small businesses as of Friday. And the problem is that within one business day, basically so much funds had been issued that a lot of the banks actually are backlogged completely. Okay, so that being the case, where do you apply? Well, again, it's been said that you apply through any existing SBA lender. There used to be 1,800 lenders with SBA. They've expanded it to, I don't know, another 1,000 beyond that. They started to allow some fintech lenders in, some online alternative lenders. Okay, but as you know, many are having issues processing applications. Here's what's happening. There's banks like Bank of America that are requesting way more documents than you need. They're creating a pipeline of people that are coming in and slowing down their process by asking for more docs than you need. They're a bank like Wells Fargo. Wells Fargo's already closed their doors. They're not even accepting applications. Almost all other lenders at this point in time are only allowing you to apply if you have a banking relationship with them. So it's created this limbo state of what to do. Now, I can tell you how we processed our own application, and I can tell you how we're helping our clients, and this is it. Might not work for you, might work for you, but I can just tell you what we did and what we're actually doing for our clients and a lot of my personal friends. So our SBA broker handled our loan. He already got us submitted right when we need to, and we're looking to get approved. I think our approval is expected to come through today. Okay, he does charge an application fee. He charges $2,000 up front, but he works with all SBA loans. He works with the EIDL loan. He works with a $10,000 grant he'll get you. He works the PPP loan, the 7A, the 504. He works with all the SBA programs, and he deals with over 10 of these banks, including community banks. And he's not requiring all this extensive documentation. So if that helps you at all, that's fine. You can go to creditsuite.com/PPP, get the documents you're going to need, whether you go through him or anybody else. And that way you can get your documents ready to work with your primary lender first. But if you are running into an issue, here's how we solved our issue. We went right through our SBA broker instead of even going about this on our own, okay? And we got in the front of the line as a result of that. Now, if this doesn't work for you, if you don't want to pay an app fee that's up front, we do work with a couple other sources that can help you. You're going to have to get your documents together to begin with. One of them charges a way lower fee. One of them charges nothing, but they both only work with one bank. and those banks are not accepting applications at this moment. So this is how we solve the problem, if this helps you at all. And all you have to do is gather the documents that you need. You can go to creditsuite.com/PPP. You complete a simple form there with your docs as quickly as possible. We refer you to our guy, and then our SBA broker can help you with every aspect of all the SBA loans, even getting the $10,000 grant. That's how we solve the problem. If that helps you, that's what we're doing to get through all of this. Okay, so importance of community banks. Community banks have been responsive, and the larger banks are stepping up from the president. Okay, so what's happened is community banks are where it's at, and that's why we got ours done with our SBA broker. He works with about 5 to 10 community banks, and smaller community banks are accepting applications right now. The big banks are backlogged. So if you're somebody that's lucky enough to actually have a relationship with a small community bank, my advice is to try there versus the big banks. I just got off the phone with a friend of mine this morning. Her application was already approved. She went in Friday, applied at a community bank, and got her application approved on Saturday. So community banks are a better ticket right now than the big banks, and these are smaller community banks like you'll find in more rural towns. But again, the problem is that a lot of people, they're not going to help you unless you have a banking relationship with them. But if you do, that's the place to go. You could check with your bank. If you get backlogged, get your docs together at creditsuite.com/PPP. You'll see the document list. You could fill out a form there, and we'll get you with our guy or give you some other solutions. But again, this is where the money is community banks. And NBC says some community and large banks have begun executing funds, but the bulk of the cash from the big banks, subject to tighter regulations implemented in the wake of 2008 financial crisis, cannot be dispersed until SBA is finalized some technical guidelines. I'm giving you a path forward. I'm telling you, look, we get the problem. The problem is what I said it was going to be last week. The big banks are going to become overwhelmed. It's going to be a nightmare. That's exactly what happened. The smaller community banks are the way to go, okay? And the big banks are the way to go if you have a relationship and if they'll let you in the door. If not, then I've given you a path forward. We fund everything through our SBA broker. That's just how we're handling these right now on our end. Now, I've got a lot of questions, so let me see if I have any other questions. We've got the business should apply to say, okay, so I will go back. I'm going to jump in here to one more, and then I will get into a bunch of questions because I have a ton of questions rolling in, and I want to make sure that they all get answered. Loan forgiveness. Loan is fully forgiven if within 8 weeks after the loan is issued, at least 75% of forgiven amount must be used for payroll. 75% plus employee and compensation levels are maintained. This is very important. We're going to talk about this. Forgiveness will be reduced if full-time headcount declines or if salaries and wages decrease. This is new. We briefly touched upon this last week, but this is brand new from the actual guidelines. And forgiveness requests for process in 60 days. So let's give an overview of what this means. You get your money, and then you should put the money into a separate account. You need to use that money 75% or more to pay your payroll. If you use 75% or more of the money to pay your payroll, that money will be forgiven. If you then pay up to 25% to cover your utilities, your mortgage interest, your rent, then that money can and will be forgiven as well. So the idea here is this. Let's look at how this goes. They're giving you the loan, and you have 6 months to pay. The first 2 months, the first 8 weeks, 2 months, they're going to have you hope that you spend that money on payroll, 75% or more of it, and the other 25% you're spending on utilities. If you do this, then you basically provide the documents to the bank that gave you the loan. They have 2 months max to review it, and then they forgive all of that money that went towards payroll and other expenses. So the idea here is that you never need to make a payment on the loan before the loan is actually forgiven. But here's the important part. You will owe money if you do not maintain your staff and payroll. We briefly knew about this last time, but we didn't know their exact guidelines, and this is what they are. The number of staff. Loan forgiveness will be reduced if you decrease your full-time employee headcount, the number of full-time employees you have. Loan forgiveness will be reduced if you decrease salaries and wages by more than 25% for any employee who makes less than $100,000. And here's the big difference from what we talked about. You have until June 30th to restore your full-time employment and salary levels for any changes made between February 15th and April 26th. This is huge. It used to be in the past, last week we believed that what they had said with the bill was that you could actually come in here, and if you didn't let anybody go after you got the money, then you would be okay. Now what they're saying is they're going to look at how many your payroll between February 15th and April 26th. And if you reduced your number of staff or reduced your level of payroll, it will reduce the amount of forgiveness that you get. So for example, and I'm just making this up, but if you, for example, they come back and they say, we're going to reduce it by 10% for every 10% reduction in employees you have, then that money would have to be paid back over 2 years at a 1% interest. So this is a big change. So I have a lot of questions here. I'm just going to take about a minute here to make sure that we actually come in and look at this. Somebody says the banks are making new rules that aren't in the legislation. That's the way it always is. Loans go through banks. Banks are going to have their guidelines as well as SBA, and a lot of them are adding extra stuff to slow down the applications they're getting because they are so overwhelmed. We'll recap of business with no employees should apply. I'd like to save myself the inquiries. Well, first of all, you absolutely should apply if you were on your own payroll. This is not the program for you if you or nobody else was on your payroll. There is another program that's better, and we will talk about that as well. Okay. We'll see. Okay. Boot the trolls. There are a lot of trolls here. Okay. So, and that's a new rule, not in the bill. Okay. So let me see here. What part of it is in the bill? Okay. So you're right. We definitely have a troll in the room that is coming up with a bunch of negative comments, but that's okay. We're all going to stay positive here because there's these people that are out here. There's nothing much we could do with that. Okay. So H Vegas says, okay, so PPP is only for businesses with staff. I'm a single member LLC. If you paid yourself, then you could qualify for PPP. If not, I'm going to give you the better loan. The EIDL would be the one that works better for you. Okay, so that being said, let me see if you pay. Okay, so let's jump on. Loan forgiveness. Loan proceeds can be used for payroll costs, including benefits, interest on mortgage obligations incurred before February 15th, 2020, rent under lease agreement in force before February 15th, 2020, utilities which service began before 15th, 2020. This is all the words from SBA's guidelines. So basically what they're saying, if you had utilities, if you had rent, if you had mortgage in place before February 15th, 2020, that money can be forgiven. Now for forgiveness, you're going to submit a request to your loan servicer, the person that gives you the loan. The request is going to include the documents that verify the number of full-time employees and pay rates, as well as the payments on eligible mortgages, lease, and utilities. And basically, you're going to need to verify what you're claiming should be forgiven, and all those docs, as I mentioned, will be reviewed within 60 days. I told you I would tell you what you must acknowledge on your application. This is the acknowledgments you will need to sign off on. Current economic uncertainty makes the loan necessary to support your ongoing operations. You're going to have to acknowledge that funds will be used to retain workers and maintain payroll or to make mortgage, rent, or utility statements. And you're going to acknowledge that you haven't received another loan, only one allowed. Another big difference from what we talked about last week. The requirements from SBA says you can only get one PPP loan per individual. A lot of questions have been asked. If I own multiple businesses, can I apply multiple times? I know people that have applied multiple times for multiple businesses, but SBA's requirements strictly state that they are only going to allow one loan per individual. So if you own 10 businesses, you can apply for one loan under their actual guidelines, and SBA's guidelines even explain why they feel that this should be capped to only one loan. Documentation requirements. I'm going to make it simple for you, but basically here is what you're going to need. Okay, you must submit documentation as necessary to establish eligibility such as payroll processor records, payroll tax filings, or 1099. For borrowers that do not have any such documentation, the borrower must provide other supporting documentation, such as bank records sufficient to demonstrate the qualifying payroll amount. Okay, the applicant must submit the payroll or the Paycheck Protection Program actual applications. Okay, and all loans will be processed by all lenders under the delegated authority. Okay, so I've actually, if we go to PPP, we actually have a website, creditsuite.com/PPP we threw up for this. And if you look under here, under the form documentation needed, you're going to get a list of what we're asking for these loans so you can get a better idea. Now, the reason I'm guiding you to this is that this gives you the link to click to get the PPP application. It also gives you the link to click to get your 940 and 941. And what this is your 940 is your actual payroll for 2019. Your 941 is the form you're going to need to fill out for the 2020. So these are the IRS docs you're going to need, and it's also the actual PPP application. You also see here that you've got a payroll report, monthly payroll report showing the number of employees and their wages, driver's license to prove identity, voided check that the funds actually need to go into. These are the basic requirements that you need. Now, if you're applying through a bank that's asking for much more than this, you need to know it's not needed. This is what's actually really needed to get a PPP loan. You're just basically verifying the number of employees you have and your payroll and how much you're paying on payroll so they can calculate how much the loan should actually be issued. So that's an idea. And again, if you go to creditsuite.com/PPP, you'll find that right under the form here under document needed. We went ahead and gave you that PDF so you'll know exactly what documents you need. Are you eligible or are you not eligible? Ineligibility. You're engaged in an activity that's illegal under state, federal, or local law. Let's give an example. Okay, if you're in the marijuana industry, it's legal at a state level, it's not legal at a federal level. You're not going to qualify. You're a household employer, individuals who employ household employees such as nannies or housekeepers. An owner of 20% or more of the equity of the applicant is incarcerated, on probation, on parole, presently subject to an indictment, criminal information. Basically, you get the idea here, right? You or any business owned or controlled by you or any of your owners has ever obtained a direct or guaranteed loan from SBA, okay, that is currently delinquent or has defaulted within the last 7 years. We have people that this excluded them. So if you've ever defaulted on an SBA loan within the last 7 years, or you are currently delinquent, then you are currently ineligible for this. So it's urgent that you act now. As we talked about, many things that you need to know here. From SBA, this is a first come, first serve basis. And from SBA, we encourage you to apply as quickly as you can because there's a funding gap and lenders need time to process your loan. Yeah, to say the least. Bank of America received 10,000 loan applications in the first hour, and 24 hours into it, they'd received over 177,000 applications for a total of $32.6 billion in loans. That's them alone account for nearly 10% of the money that is in this bill. And keep in mind, that was 24 hours in to applications even being made available. And as again, Wells Fargo completely capped it. They are no longer have any money that they're allowed to even lend on this. And we've talked a little bit about what the banks are saying here. So I'm going to come through and I am going to then look through and see if I have any other questions I can help. Okay, I'm just, okay, yeah, forgot. All right, hi, big note one is what about employers who started payroll beginning of February? You're fine. If you were in business before February 15th, 2020, and you had employees, you do still qualify, Made 5. And High Vegas says, I know there has been a big stink about the SBA not carrying out the advance how they're supposed to. We will see how this all plays out. Okay, so that being said, again, if we can help you with anything on the application end, let me know. This is exactly how we are getting past all of this, is we're just funneling these to our SBA broker. And again, I've already told you exactly how he operates. He charges a $2,000 app fee for any SBA loans that he works with, but he's going to help you with the economic injury disaster loan. He's going to help you get the $10,000 grant. He helps you with SBA 7A loans, 504 loans. He works with PPP, deals with over 10 SBA funding institutions, and he doesn't require the extensive docs. I just gave you an idea of the docs he's actually going to require. So if that makes sense, if you want to go that direction, that's how we did it. I don't care. If you go through your bank, that is my recommendation. Go through your community bank, that is my recommendation. Go through your credit union, that is my recommendation. I'm just giving you a backup alternative if those don't work. Go to creditsuite.com/PPP, get your income docs together. You're going to need them whether you apply through my guy or your own person or whoever, doesn't matter. And then there's a form there you can fill out if we can help you with that. So let's talk about other SBA programs as well. A lot of people have asked. The first loan that came out was called the Economic Injury Disaster Loan, the EIDL. Loans up to $2 million, rates of 3.75%, 2.75% for nonprofit. Loan terms up to 30 years. $10,000 grant can be obtained in 36 hours with the EIDL. This is what I talked about when I mentioned the $10,000 grant. When you go to apply for the EIDL, and you can apply direct online at disasterloan.sba.gov. If you want to apply for EIDL on your own, you absolutely can. You want to handle your own paperwork, do all that, you can go to disasterloan.sba.gov. When you fill out the app, they will ask you to fill a box out for the $10,000 grant. And again, I gave you another solution if you're like me and can't stand paperwork, for somebody else that can help you and get all that stuff done anyways. There's also SBA debt relief. So SBA will pay the principal and interest of any new loan that was issued at September 27, 2020, and they will pay the principal and interest of current 7 7A loans for up to 6 months. They did this for us. It was very simple to get approved. We have an outstanding SBA loan. They waived 6 months worth of payments for us. The process was super simple. And again, we didn't have to pay any kind of payment on our current SBA loan for 6 months. They have a bridge loan program as well. That's $25,000 to bridge the gap between you getting the SBA loan. And I mentioned that $10,000 grant as well. So those are great SBA programs that work as well. Now, beyond this, you still have SBA's normal 7A. You also have SBA's normal 504, okay? But again, the things to keep in mind here is what we've seen is that the 7A loans, the 504 loans, the EIDL loans from SBA all take a back seat to the Paycheck Protection. That's it. The PPP loan will take priority. If you are applying for any of these other SBA loans, including the Economic Injury Disaster Loan, let's talk about this. Because if you don't have payroll, this is a great loan to get. 30-year loan term, 3.75% interest rate, that's a great loan. You have to regularly qualify. You have to have the credit to qualify. You have to have business credit established to qualify. Okay, so you have to have the normal amount, the normal requirements of SBA, even collateral if you're borrowing over $25,000, although they won't turn you down because you don't have the collateral. They do request anything that can be used as collateral be used. So EIDL loans are a great way to go if you don't have people on your payroll. This is a fantastic way to go. But again, keep in mind, right now, these PPP loans take priority. SBA, from everything I've heard and seen, everything else is taking a back seat. So they're going to get to the PPP loans first. Then I think they're going to circle back to EIDL loans and any other SBA loan, the 7A, the 504, all those kind of loans, they're just not going to get to until after they process all these PPP applications, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and open this up and look and see. I have some other questions here, so I want to make sure that this is. Chris says, hey, I missed the part about an independent contractors, no employees. If you are an independent contractor, you can apply as of this Friday, April 10th. You are able to apply, okay? They will never get, okay, let me see, unemployment, and I see a lot of you guys are engaging with each other, so I'm just looking to see if I have any questions here. Okay, so your guy has a separate loan program. Yes, my guy's an SBA guy. That's it. It's a simple. He's the guy that we process all SBA loans through. So anybody that comes to get an SBA loan, he handles all of our paperwork. He handles the loans. He did our SBA loan last year. He handles anything to do with SBA. So all SBA programs he works with, including the $10,000 grant. Okay, and his own guy loan program too. Okay, so that being said, probably daily, weekly payback kind of loan. Okay, okay, so let's see a business credit and 739. Okay, and Vega says, I have a business credit and 739 score. It'll still not say, okay, so you guys are talking to each other there. That's cool. All right, so I'm going to then introduce some other programs. This is the #1 program we have outside of SBA right now. You need a 650 FICO. A lot of lenders are tightening up and you need a 680. But if you have a 680 FICO or a guarantor that does, it's a fantastic way to go. It's 0% for up to 18 months. You can get credit lines up to $150,000. I call it a credit line hybrid because you get the benefit of 0% credit cards that you get 0% for up to 18 months. You get the benefit of a credit line where you could take cash out and write checks against it, but you get both. So you can actually take checks out and write checks against this for and get 0% interest. So it's a combination of both. And it helps you build business credit because many of the credit lines report to the business credit reporting agencies. If this makes sense, you have a 680 FICO, you have a guarantor that has this, you can give us a ring at 877-600-2487. I want to talk to you because the business lending industry has been decimated. So I'm going to tell you right now what to expect outside of SBA with getting money. Because as I just told you, like if you're not applying and getting in line now, then we expect that by next week the money will be gone, the $349 billion. So again, we got to talk about programs outside of SBA because that might not even be here next week. But this credit line hybrid is the most popular program that we have. And the reason for that is the credit markets are still okay. We still see credit issuers issuing credit like they normally did. Whether you want to apply using your credit with a personal guarantee or the corporate credit side that we really specialize in where we're building business credit for your EIN that's not linked to your social, credit issuers are still issuing credit as they always have. This money is still the place to go right now. Now, cash flow financing has been decimated. Okay, cash flow financing is where they used to look at your revenue and then lend you money based on what your revenue is. Now, you can still get this money, but it's no longer available to people with bad credit. These used to be the number one subprime product that existed in business lending. If you had bad credit, this was the best program for you. It's been decimated. Most lenders in this space have completely stopped lending and either paused or just completely went out of business. And it makes sense. If you know how this money works, they looked at your revenue and they said, we expect your revenue to continue at the same level. We will lend you money based on the expectation that your revenue will continue. Well, obviously, that didn't work very well because many businesses' revenue didn't continue. So this program is available, but unlike before where you used to be able to get approved with a 500 credit score, they're going to really look at 680, 700 type credit scores to even get cash flow financing now. Now, this type of financing is still readily available if you have an asset that can serve as collateral. So, account receivables, purchase orders, 401k, stocks, bonds, IRAs, book of business, vehicles, commercial real estate. If you have an asset that can serve as collateral, there's still a lot of lenders that ignore credit. They're not looking at your cash flow. They only lend money based on that asset. So if you or a partner, family member, friend has an asset you could pledge as collateral, still very possible to get 5% plus credit lines and get them using that asset as collateral. Let me give you an example. We have a lender that if you do e-commerce, let's say you sell stuff on eBay or sell stuff on Amazon and eBay. In that case, they will actually give you inventory financing that's crowdfunding. They will fund the money that you need to buy your inventory. So let's say you need to spend $10,000 to buy your product from the distributor. They'll get you the $10,000. You use the money to buy the product from the distributor. As you sell your product, you pay back that loan. So there's all kinds of financing that's still available like that if you have an asset that can serve as collateral. In that example, inventory is the asset. So cash flow financing, decimated. You can still get it, but again, it's going to require much better credit scores to get in the door. And they're going to want longer time in business, more consistent revenue, etc. Asset-based financing, low interest lines of credit, still available if you or a guarantor have an asset that you could pledge as collateral. And of course, business credit is still readily available as well. The credit markets are good. We're still seeing things are going well. Whether you have good credit and want $150,000 in credit lines without a person or with a personal guarantee, those are still there. They're running strong. The corporate credit side, where you can get high limit revolving accounts linked to your EIN and not your social. You're able to get credit with most major stores and retailers within about 30 to 60 days. You're able to get Visa cards, MasterCards, auto financing without a personal guarantee, without a personal credit check. No collateral required, no cash flow required. This is still a great way to go. And if we can help you, give us a ring, 877-600-2487. We'll do a free fundability check to see where you stand. We'll do a check with you with the reporting agencies to see if you have credit established now. We'll help you get your business credit reports for free, and then we can give you tips and tactics, tell you about our program, anything we can do to help you on the business credit building side as well. And I've also got a couple great resources here. creditsuite.com/PPP. This is our resource page on the actual Paycheck Protection Program. So the PPP loan, all the details you'll need is there. It includes a link. It will include a link to this webinar. It includes a link to the slide deck that I used for this webinar. It also includes a link of documents you're going to need so you can start getting those together to apply if you haven't applied already. Amongst all the basic details of the PPP program, all of them are right there available for you. And then here's our information if we can get in touch as well. So I have a lot of questions coming in. So I'm going to wrap up just by making sure that I get your questions answered. But now I've given you everything you need to know about PPP. Here's how it works. Here's how to qualify. Here's all the actual requirements from SBA's underwriting guidelines themselves, not just the theory that came from the bill. If you're getting stuck applying, I've given you a path forward. And again, if you don't want to pay any broker a couple $1,000 application, no big deal. We've got some other sources that can help you as well, but they only work with one bank, so that might be an alternative to help you if you're still getting stuck with your bank. Either way, we can't even help anybody that doesn't have the necessary income docs. So you got to get those income documentations together. We talked about the EIDL loan, the Economic Injury Disaster Loan. Look, this PPP loan, it's going to be a firecracker. The thing's going to go quickly, explode, be done. But the EIDL loan will be the next loan behind it that can still help you. And then beyond the EIDL, we also talked about other programs as well. The collateral-based financing, business credit, credit line hybrid program, all of that you're able to get. And cash flow financing you can get, but again, much harder to get than before. So I've given you a bunch of ways to be able to get financing, and I'll continue to on more live streams. Okay, so let me go and see what other questions you may have that I can help answer. What if I started my business in January, but I haven't hired any employees yet? That could work with PPP if you paid yourself. But if you didn't pay yourself, then it's really not for you. You probably want to go for that EIDL program as well. However, I'm still paying lease payments. The EIDL payment is going to be better for you. You guys funding the same SBA funding from the SBA? Yeah, our SBA broker funds all the same programs with the SBA. He just works with about 10 community banks and big banks. He might even help you get your application in the door with your own bank if your own bank won't let you get the application in. So anything to do with SBA, and he's helping our clients very quickly. I've seen as short as 36 hours getting the $10,000 grant as well. And Vegas says, so the hybrid is credit cards. As I mentioned, it's a credit line hybrid program, so it gives you the benefit of credit cards that's 0% and credit lines that let you take cash out as well. And exactly why this program is designated. Okay, so we got some feedback there. You'll have to pay it back. Okay. Okay, so cash flow financing is definitely the daily, weekly payback. Yes. Okay, so the cash flow financing is just really not predominant anymore. We just don't see that because it's based on future cash flow, which just really isn't happening. Okay, not based on revenue. Okay, let me see if I have any other questions. Okay, great. All right, perfect. So I think that answers all of the questions that I have. If you have any other questions and we're not done, just give us a ring, 877-600-2487. Email us info@creditsuite.com. creditsuite.com/PPP gives you access to everything you need on the PPP program. And you can also go to creditsuite.com/small-business-crisis-resources. And that gives you a bunch of resources there as well. So that page can give you a lot of information, and creditsuite.com/PPP is there. And if you have questions on the credit line hybrid, if you want to get business credit, etc., give us a ring at 877-600-2487. If you're interested in working with anybody that we work with on the PPP loan, get your documentation together. It's the first step. Then we have a quick form you can fill out at creditsuite.com/PPP, and we can get you that guidance as well. So I'm going to wrap up. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. If anybody else has any other questions, just reach out to us and let us know, 877-600-2487, or visit our resources page at creditsuite.com/PPP. Thanks, everybody. Keep your heads up. A lot of good stuff is still happening in the business funding world, and this is a great forgiveness program if you meet the requirements, so something you definitely want to get in on. But I can't say enough. The PPP program, you have to get your application in now. From the current estimate of what we're seeing, they will run out of current funding by the end of next week. Whether they refund the program with more money, that's up in the air. Nobody knows. But considering they've already funded $38 billion in day one, then we expect the $349 billion to go pretty quick. So the key here is to get your application in. Again, as I advised, go with the community bank first if you're set up with them. It's your best chance. Try to work with your banker second, but be cautious if they ask for too much documentation or don't ask for any documentation. That just means you're holding your place in line. Make sure you're submitting a full file. And if you want to know what a full file is, go to creditsuite.com/PPP. And from there, that will give you the actual documents that you need. Selena says, thanks, Ty. This really breaks it down. Thank you. I appreciate you attending. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I am going to wrap this up. Somebody did mention an affiliate program. We will be talking as well about our partner program for loan brokers as soon as tomorrow, but we do have an affiliate program as well. So if you're interested in being a partner with us, give us a ring at 877-600-2487. We make it easy to offer business credit financing for your customers. And if you're interested in not being a partner, but just referring customers over that need help so we can help them and you could still earn a good affiliate commission, you can get enrolled with us as an affiliate at creditsuite.com/affiliate. Okay, I'm just going to go ahead and wrap this up. If you have any other questions, give us a ring at 877-600-2487. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.